After the Chinese Grand Prix, every camera in the paddock was pointed at Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team, celebrating another 1-2 finish. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli were on the top two steps for the second straight race. Meanwhile, at the back of the Ferrari garage, Frédéric Vasseur was quietly telling a small group of reporters about a plan that has nothing to do with building a faster car, and everything to do with reading the FIA rulebook more carefully than anyone else on the grid. Ferrari is not trying to outrun Mercedes right now. They are waiting for the rules to let them. And what Vasseur described is not some vague hope that things will improve on their own. It is a specific regulatory mechanism with a specific name, specific thresholds, and a specific timeline. The Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile wrote it into the 2026 power unit regulations as an insurance policy. Vasseur is treating it as a business plan. The context makes this story sharper. Mercedes has won 3 out of 3 available victories across Australia and China, counting the Shanghai sprint. Russell and Antonelli have looked comfortable doing it. The gap to Ferrari is not enormous on paper. Vasseur himself quantified it after China as 3, 4, or 5 tenths depending on the session and the track conditions. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have been on the podium at every round. Ferrari's chassis, particularly through medium and high-speed corners, is arguably the best package on the grid. But on the straights, Mercedes pulls away. And it pulls away because its internal combustion engine makes more power. That is where this gets interesting, because the visible gap on a timing screen and the invisible gap, measured by FIA sensors, are two very different numbers. Ferrari's SF26 carries what appears to be a stronger aerodynamic package and a small diameter turbocharger that delivers better throttle response, particularly off the line. Those advantages mask the engine deficit in lap times. Strip them away and measure raw combustion power alone, and the gap between Maranello and Brackley is wider than the stopwatch suggests. Vasseur knows this because Ferrari has access to its own torque sensor data. The FIA has the rest. If you had asked anyone inside the FIA in 2024 what they were most afraid of heading into the new engine era, the answer was always the same: a repeat of 2014. That was the year Mercedes arrived, with a power unit so dominant that the rest of the grid spent 3 seasons and hundreds of millions of dollars just trying to get within shouting distance. The 2026 regulations were supposed to prevent exactly that scenario. And to make sure it could not happen again, the governing body created something called ADO, Additional Design and Upgrade Opportunities, a safety net for any engine manufacturer that falls too far behind. The way it works is almost surgical. Every car on the 2006 grid carries torque sensors mounted to its rear half shafts. Those sensors feed data directly to the FIA, allowing the governing body to measure each engine's raw power output independently of chassis performance, aerodynamic efficiency, tire degradation, or driver skill. The FIA compiles this data into a confidential metric called the Internal Combustion Engine Performance Index, and it compares every manufacturer's average output against the benchmark, which right now is Mercedes. The methodology itself is classified under a restricted FIA document. Teams know the thresholds, but not the exact formula. Those thresholds are what make this interesting. If a manufacturer's engine falls between 2% and 4% below the benchmark, after the first evaluation window, the FIA grants them 1 additional homologation upgrade during the current season and 1 more for the following year. If the deficit hits 4% or higher, that doubles to 2 upgrades per season, plus 2 for the year after. On top of the component changes, qualifying manufacturers also receive 30% additional engine test bench hours and a downward adjustment to their power unit cost cap. That is not a slap on the wrist. That is a fully funded second chance to redesign your engine mid-season while your competitors are frozen. The evaluation was originally built around 3 checkpoints across a 24-race calendar at races 6, 12, and 18, roughly the quarter mark, the halfway point, and the 3/4 mark of the season. The FIA also built in anti-sandbagging protection. There is a clause in the regulations that allows the governing body to revoke ADO privileges if a manufacturer's post-upgrade performance looks inconsistent with what the torque sensors measured during the assessment period. In other words, if the FIA catches you deliberately running your engine below its capability to gain the threshold, they can take the upgrade away. That anti-sandbagging clause matters more than anyone in the paddock seems to realize right now. There are whispers that Mercedes is not running its power unit at full output during these early races. If that is true, it would compress the gap between the benchmark and everyone else, making it harder for Ferrari or Honda to breach the 2% threshold. Proving it, though, is nearly impossible with only 2 races of data. And this is where the metagame gets genuinely fascinating. because Mercedes has every incentive to keep the measured gap just narrow enough to deny its rivals ADO access, while still winning races comfortably. Honda lost most of its championship-winning engineering staff during its 2021 withdrawal from the sport, and the rebuilt team was, by Newey's own admission, essentially starting from scratch. The human cost of Honda's problems has not been discussed enough. Alonso, at 44 years old, chose to extend his career into the new regulations specifically because he believed in the Aston Martin project and in Newey's ability to build a championship contender. Instead, he is sitting in a car that physically hurts him after half a race distance. Lance Stroll has reportedly experienced similar symptoms. Newey publicly urged Honda to begin work on their 2027 power unit immediately, calling for what he described as a very large step in combustion engine power. That is not the language of a team expecting a quick fix. Some paddock observers interpreted Newey's dramatic public disclosure as a calculated move of its own, designed to establish Honda's performance deficit in the public record and lay the groundwork for early ADO activation. Whether that is true or not, the contrast with Frederick Vasseur's approach is striking. Newey went loud and emotional. Vasseur went quiet and precise. Both are angling for the same regulatory relief, but through completely different strategies, and both might end up standing in front of the FIA at the same evaluation window, making very different cases for the same outcome. Red Bull Powertrains presents a different problem entirely. Technical director Ben Hodgkinson has been the most vocal critic of the ADU system, questioning whether meaningful upgrades can realistically be developed within the mandated timelines given the complexity of power unit manufacturing. He pointed out that Red Bull has a full fleet of 12 engines already in the pool that would all need updating, and argued that the gestation time of an idea in power units is far longer than it is on the chassis side. He has pushed for what he called a gloves-off fight without homologation restrictions. Whether Red Bull Ford qualifies for ADU remains uncertain. Some reports suggest they found the same compression ratio trick as Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team, which could keep their performance index above the 2% line. The wider competitive picture is one where Mercedes sits alone at the top. Ferrari occupies a clear but bridgeable second. Honda is in genuine trouble, and everyone else is still figuring out where they stand. Audi, the only brand new manufacturer on the grid, could also qualify for ADU relief. Gabriel Bortoleto scored points on debut in Melbourne, but the Audi power unit has shown reliability issues, and Nico Hülkenberg suffered a technical failure before the race even started. What makes the Ferrari story different from all of these is the posture. Every other team that might qualify for ADO is treating it as emergency assistance. Vasseur is treating it as a scheduled appointment. He knew the engine would be down. He planned the season around the rules, providing a window to fix it. He told the chassis team to push without compromise and told the engine department that their moment comes later. That is not desperation. That is architecture. The 2026 regulations did not just change how Formula One engines work, they changed how teams think about falling behind. For the first time in the hybrid era, being slower at the start of the season is not a sentence. It is, if you read the rulebook carefully enough, an opportunity. And nobody on this grid appears to have read it more carefully than the team principal sitting in the back of the Ferrari garage in Shanghai, quietly explaining to anyone who would listen that the gap to Mercedes is not a problem to be solved, it is a condition to be documented, measured, and cashed in.